Hello, YouTube. I'm going to tell you today about a very interesting subject, but the information is absolutely scant. I don't have a lot, but it's a fascinating subject. You see, Russian Special Forces or Spetsnaz, Psychotechnics, is a topic that is rarely covered. First of all, because of the secrecy. It's all the more interesting to find out what techniques are used with special forces, with Spetsnaz, as well as to trace the history of their appearance. You see, in future wars, the role of psychotechniques may become crucial, especially when it comes to combatants performing particularly important combat missions. What techniques are used in the special forces, as well as to trace the history of their appearance among special forces? Well, in the Soviet Union, on May 29, 1946, the legendary Soviet Special Forces Colonel Yakov Serebryansky ended his military career. This was a super spy. Spy per excellence. I don't think we know quarter of the missions that he carried out in the West. Well, he considered the psychological training of his troops who performed particularly difficult tasks abroad to be his most important task. In particular, his attention was attracted by the works of psychiatrist V.S. Deryabin, Tasks and Possibilities of Psychotechnics in Military Affairs. I'll tell you about what it is and how it affects the activities of special units, again, based on the scant information. But apparently it all started way long ago with train drivers. The foundations of psychotechniques were laid out in the early 20th century in Germany by the psychotherapist A. Schackwitz, who described a methodology for the psychological stability of train drivers, which includes in particular sorting out those who were a priori not capable of this profession. So in 1919 in Berlin, this development was tested by engineer K. This brought the treasury an income of 1,350,000 marks compared to the previous year. This success was immediately noticed by the military. Soon the method of A. Schackwitz was introduced into the Bavarian School of Pilots. As a result, the number of accidents during the flights decreased by 53%. The basis for the Schackwitz Psychotechnical School were tests of fair assessments of applicants' abilities in relation to a specific profession. So Russia has also become interested in the experience of the Germans. V.S. Deryabin, a physiologist and psychiatrist, was the first of Russian scientists who, based on Schackwitz's teachings, dealt with issues of military psychotechniques. He proved that physical abilities do not always reflect the potential of soldiers. During the war, World War I, before my eyes, 2 soldiers who served as non-combat soldiers joined the intelligence team, Deryabin wrote. One turned out to be very efficient in a new place, and the other was outstanding, audaciously enterprising. And this immediately changed the situation in this sector of the front. The psychiatrist concluded that in future wars, the role of psychotechniques may become crucial, especially when it comes to combatants performing particularly important combat missions. Now I'm going to tell you about a very interesting person who is, of course, well known, used to be in the Soviet Union, modern Russia, not as much, but his name was Yulian Semyonovich Semyonov, a pen name of actual Yulian Semyonovich Lyandres, who was a Soviet and Russian writer of spy fiction and detective fiction, also scriptwriter and poet, and very well married into the KGB general's family. I think he married his daughter. Well, Semyonov is well known for creating the fictional Soviet spy Stirlitz, the series based on the books about this Soviet spy in Nazi Germany, acting in Nazi Germany. Very very popular in the Soviet Union, and people still watch it today. In the 1960s, 1970s, this Semyonov worked abroad a lot as a reporter of the Russian Soviet magazines and editions in France, Germany, Spain, Cuba, Japan, the United States, and Latin America. His journalistic career was full of adventures and often dangerous ones. At one time, he was in the taiga with tiger hunters. Then he was at the polar station. And then he went to the Baikal-Amur main line. You should see my video about strange things that took place there. It was a construction project. And also he was at the Diamond Pipe opening. He was constantly at the center of important political events in those years. Be it Afghanistan, Spain under Franco, Chile, Cuba, Paraguay. He was tracing Nazis who sought cover from punishment. Apparently he was going after Sicilian mafia leaders, maybe for interviews. He was taking part actually in the combatant operations of the Viet Cong, or actually Vietnamese and Laotian communist guerrillas against the United States. Semyonov was one of the pioneers of the investigative journalism in the Soviet periodicals. So in 1974 in Madrid, he managed to interview a Nazi criminal, a saboteur also par excellence, Hitler's favorite Otto Skorzeny, who had categorically refused any other journalist before. So then, at that time, being the Soviet newspaper Literaturная Gazeta newspaper correspondent in Germany, the Soviet writer succeeded in interviewing the Reichsminister Albert Speer and one of the SS leaders, Karl Wolff. His interviews, as well as his investigations regarding the research of the Amber Room, again, see my video, very, very unusual situation, and other cultural treasures that were taken abroad from the Soviet Union during World War II, they were published by Semyonov in his documentary story Face to Face in 1983. So, again, Semyonov, who was very friendly with KGB officers, described the following case in his novel Confrontation. Before the war, Nikolai Krotov suffered from stuttering, but in Germany, he was sent for compulsory electrocution treatment, and he got rid of the disease. This story could actually happen, as it has a scientific basis in the form of the James Lange theory. In essence, its essence boils down to the fact that everything in the human body is interconnected: emotions, nervous stimuli, and physiology. For example, after a 10-kilometer march, physiology signals the nervous system about a lack of oxygen and nutrients in the muscles. Since the available resource has already been exhausted, the nervous system in turn forms the emotions: I'm tired, I cannot walk. Based on them, a person decides to make a stop. Meanwhile, understanding that physiology has a hidden ability to activate the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the muscles may prompt a soldier to make a different decision, to go ahead. Russian Spetsnaz, special services, must undergo psychological training, and officers are trained in the psychology of operational and combat activities programs, negotiation process in extreme conditions, and hypnology. Most of the psychotechnical techniques, for example, the Special Group A, I've described in my other videos about this Russian Spetsnaz force, are know-how and classified, as they allow you to manipulate both the behavior of an aggressive crowd and the consciousness of individuals. This is what I have. It's not a lot, it's scant, but it's all that's available in the open sources. And I wanted to share it with you. And I will bring you more information about the Russian Spetsnaz forces in different branches of the armed forces that they have. It's very interesting, but I operate with open sources. Nevertheless, few in the West know this information. So stay tuned, and thank you for your attention to my work. Please subscribe to my channel, but make sure you push the notification button so you hear from YouTube when my new videos come. If you can support me, please do so through the links you'll find in the description to this video. And again, thank you for your attention to my work.